Hey, what's up, everybody? BDL44 coming at you with another video. All right, so this is one of those videos where I'm actually doing something while I'm making a video. So bear with me. If you can't see me, please forgive me. But I'm prepping food. So here's the thing, man. We were talking about LeBron James. Of course, that's the running conversation. Should he sign the extension? I'm trying to figure out if I'm in his position, if I think signing the extension is the best move. But what I will say is, I do think that it will create a more calming environment for the front office to operate. And I think if he were to sign the extension, depending on what their preference for the circumstance is, I think if it would probably be better for them in terms of, I trust that they will make more sound decisions when they're not dealing with that. Put it like that. I have seen this front office make mistakes when it appears that they're stressed. I've seen other front offices make mistakes when it appears that they are stressed. Now, what do I define as mistakes? I don't know. I'm learning about the cap every day, so forgive me if I'm not even on point when it comes to mistakes and how to define them. But what I can say is, I know when people are stressed in general, they tend to feel pressed to make decisions that otherwise are no good for their circumstances, depending on their personalities. I think the front office of the Los Angeles Lakers would operate much more clearly if they had some closure to LeBron James's situation come August 4th. Now, does he owe them that? I don't believe so. But at the same time, I do believe that we're in a place where he wants to be in LA. And if I am to assume that, and it makes all the sense in the world for him to just sign the extension and continue on. Now, if there's other stipulations to that, maybe there's better negotiation strategies to not doing so, and I'm not aware. I'm open-minded to that. Cool. But if none of that is necessary in place, and I think his point of view is to try to get them to make win-now decisions, it's a gamble. But I think the Lakers will make the right decision once they know he is signed to continue on the path of bringing to him what he wants. But that's the leverage he gives up once he signs that extension, in theory. In theory. So, that's what you have. That's what's on the table, man. I don't really know what he should do. But what I can say as a Laker fan, I want him to stay. I want him to stay, and I'm not really interested in him taking a massive pay cut. Because my philosophy for players that take pay cuts is, you don't have to necessarily even consider a pay cut so long as you can give me what it is that you're going to be taking from the cap. If you can give me $50 million worth of basketball, then we've done a good job in putting you in that position. Now, the only question about him is the same question we have about everybody. It's health. And we know we have to manage him a certain way because he's older. But at the end of the day, Bron James, you know what level he's going to play at when he steps back on the floor. We just saw him a couple weeks ago look spectacular. So at this point, you know he's worth the money. It's about what he wants to do at that point. In my opinion, unless the Lakers are just fed up, want to move on, which I don't believe they are at all. I really don't believe that. They just have a difference in opinions about how to build going forward, but I don't think they're too far apart. I think more so it's about how best to get to point B that they're not necessarily on the same page about. And then from there, once you get to point B, what should be point C? And when I say point B, I mean once you get Kyrie here, whether or not you pay him. I think that's probably where I'm not certain. But I think you have to just ask yourself, if you believe Kyrie can raise his trade value in a Laker uniform, and I think the answer is of course. I think the answer is of course, based on the role and based on the fact that we're the Lakers, based on the fact that he's next to LeBron James, and we know what that looks like and how successful they can be. So, if we sign him to a certain amount, if for some reason we want to move on from him, chances are we can count on him being a more valuable player than what it is we're inheriting at $36 million for 1 year. Because I do believe that's a max player based on his talent level. And the fact he's only 31 years of age. So, is there still a role for small guards? I guess is what the question would be. Do you still believe that small guards can play in this league in an era where players are being hunted because of their size. I think that would be the only question I would have outside of health for Kyrie Irving. And if that's the case, you're going to be picking up big guards, even if they can play or not play, just because they're big. And at that point, you're going to be neglecting the value of what Kyrie Irving can bring to the table. When you look at a guy like, the best example I have that I can think of is another crossover guy in Jamal Crawford. I mean, he literally put up some crazy numbers just last week. The man's 50-something. And he's still balling. Why? Because the fundamentals of the game is what he excelled at. It wasn't athleticism. It wasn't all that other stuff. He was a genius at the fundamentals based on what he was able to do dribbling the ball and based on what he was able to do because of it. Kyrie Irving has those same strengths. So in my mind, Kyrie Irving can play his game at his level for as long as he wants to. Like, he can do this at the gym at 65 years old. He would play a little slower, but his fundamentals would still be superior to half the people he go up against even then. Because that's what his game brings to the table. He's that gifted. You know? And so, and it translates very well. That's the key to what it is that his gift is. It very much translates to every fit that you would ever want to put together in your office. And his efficiency shooting the ball makes it so that not only are you getting that ability, but you also get the big play ability that comes with someone who can be in the moment and make it happen. So it's sad that I feel like I have to sell the skills and the play level and the value of a Kyrie Irving because I know what he brings to the table. But you know, the media has a very much of a hold on how he's being promoted, and they're not telling you to look at his gameplay. They're telling you to focus on things that they deem as flaws in his personality, and I think that diminishes what it is that he actually brings to the table. I'm not, no disrespect to Kyrie at all, but I'm not bringing him to the table to be the greatest human being. I'm bringing him to the table to be the greatest basketball player he can be. So if for some reason, you know what I mean, he falls short of being the greatest guy, so damn what. I think at the end of the day, I think a lot of the owners fall short of being the greatest people too. And they don't get held accountable the same way for their personalities and the quirks and the decisions that ultimately land on the fans having a bad product to watch and pay for. So, no, Kyrie Irving is the complete opposite of that. And if it weren't for the chirping birds that continue to keep his name in their mouths about the things that he didn't do and how he didn't show up for different situations or what have you, then you would understand that this is somebody that needs to be paid at a lot of money for the game of basketball, that he plays at a hellified level, if I'm being completely honest with everybody. And I don't think anybody that knows the game at any decent level of IQ would dare disagree with that. So that's why I'm looking to bring him in for multiple years. Maybe even the years he's looking for. Maybe the amount he's looking for, because he is that good. And his age is that reasonable. So, yeah, I'm totally on board with bringing Kyrie Irving in, just like LeBron. I think it's a no-brainer. I don't care what the heck we're building. I still think that we should stay on the path of acquiring that piece. Because at the end of the day, just like the Brooklyn Nets know, deep down, he's worth it. They just have different philosophies about how they want to run their business, and they have different recent history that will make the situation sour. And nobody blames him for that. I would feel the same way. But he does need to move on. We have the spot. Simple as that. So if everybody would just come to terms on what is best for themselves, I think they can ultimately make a move that lands him in Los Angeles. Because apparently nobody else wants him. Everybody else is caught up in the web of what it is they think he won't do. And the Lakers organization doesn't appear to be. I'm just not. I'm not worried about what he's not going to do. We know there's a chance he doesn't play 40 games. Guess what? We got somebody else on tap we know is only going to play 40 games. It's aligned and on par with what we're doing. I hate to say it, but it aligns. Just like a timeline needs to align, these type of things tend to need to align as well to make them make sense. And I hate to say it, but it aligns, man. We know that Anthony Davis, we expect he may not play very much. You got to have that already worked into your head. So, I don't know, man. In this presence of everything that's going on, I'm happy that it seems as if LeBron James is focused on the Lakers in the immediate future, in the midterm, so to speak. Got rice all over my hands, forgive me. But that is one of those situations where that at least gives people a bit of a sigh of relief to say, you know what, all right. At least he's looking in the direction of us, saying, okay, this is something that they can work upon that I can get with. Because if he's looking at Golden State, looking at Cleveland, and then looking at us saying, and allowing that to be known, the Lakers are definitely in a bad position. So needless to say that news is not the case, and I think he's poised and ready for the Lakers to make the right decision in regards to the assets and how they should be used. I think he's poised to see them do the right thing. I think everything behind the scenes seems like they're playing it the right way. And so how can you hate that? I think that's what it really comes down to. You know what we have, you know what we don't. So it's not like you're surprised looking at our war chest saying, oh man, they don't have something. No, he's been here for the last 4 years. He knows what we got. And he also knows what we have behind the scenes, these young players. That's the beauty of being on the inside for a guy like LeBron James. He knows what type of scouts we have. He knows what type of young talent we have in our farm system. He knows that this is a situation that in the future, even if his sons don't necessarily excel, they can still find their way through the league through us, so long as he keeps that relationship tight with the Lakers. We'll make sure his kid is in the league because we're going to give him an opportunity with the G League. We're already establishing that. You know what I mean? And that is how the Lakers are speaking to LeBron James. You think this just happenstance that we have Sharif O'Neal and Scottie Pippen? No. Heck no. No, the Lakers are letting LeBron know that we have every intention of bringing your sons, both of them, to us. And we're going to be better for it because they're hella players. They're hellified players. We can see that already. So if we are lucky enough to have them be a part of our organization, then we're going to suit them up and make sure they develop properly. And I think LeBron sees that. He knows he can have that here. You know, and so that's the most important thing, being on the inside with this Laker thing. He knows. Now that the outside don't know. They don't know. They still look at us and say, oh, that team doesn't have that. Nah. You better look at our G League affiliate and tell me we don't have one of the best G League teams in the entire league. Because our boys can go. Trust and believe. So it is what it is, man. I'm just sitting here being patient, as our Lakers are. And so I wanted to get up here and let you guys know what I've heard, which is LeBron James is leaning toward just feeling good about the Lakers. That's the best way to put it. They ain't going to commit him to nothing else. He feels pretty good about the Lakers right now, and that is solid. That's solid news. So we're going to hold on to that for dear life, and that is pretty much it. My name is BDL44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.